Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of this Monday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point. The network is the American Family Radio Network, AFR Talk. You are listening to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Let's grab one call to start this second hour. We talked in the first hour with Fred Jackson about our trip to Cuba, see the work that God is doing there through the house church movement, through some of the relaxation of some of the strictures that have been in place there, and through the ministry of radio, specifically Trans World Radio, beaming its signal right now to about 2/3 of the land of Cuba. God doing a great work in a country which is mysterious to a lot of Americans simply because we aren't able to travel there very frequently, can't see it. And as I mentioned, Cuba shut down travel from the States. If you're from the United States, you cannot get a travel visa, tourist visa to go into Cuba unless it's for humanitarian mission. So we were one of the last groups to be in there until they open that up, which I expect that they will probably find a way to do. But let's grab a call from Ricky in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Ricky, welcome. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate having me back. Two comments, one on Cuba. I've been to Cuba twice, bringing Bibles over there, and one on the snake handling thing. When I went to Cuba years ago, that's when it was illegal for anybody to go to Cuba. I had to go by way of Cancun, Mexico. Of course, when I got to Cuba, they didn't stamp the passport. They just gave you a little slip of paper stamped that because they knew that if the government found out you went to Cuba, you'd go to jail. But I had two duffel bags stuffed with Bibles. Of course, at the very top, I had some like medicine and, vitamins, stuff like that. And I remember going to customs, a Spanish custom agent. She told me, well, I didn't know what she said. She said something in Spanish. And I said, no comprendo. And she said, open. Of course, I understood that. And I started to take, of course, the very top of my duffel bag, I had 10% medicine and vitamins, and then the other 90% was stuffed full of Bibles. And I was slowly taking my medicine out. And I thought, oh, no, this is it, because I remember reading Tom White, Voice of the Martyrs. He used to be the CEO for Voice of the Martyrs. And they crashed a plane on the beach in Havana, and he got 18 months in Castro's prison. In fact, almost died there. But anyhow, as I was taking the stuff out slowly, another custom agent from like 5 tables over ran over to me and said, do you have any food? I said, no. He said, close. I thought, thank God. So I closed it up and went on. I had my 2 pastors meet me when I got out. Anyhow, just close call, but thank God, I'd still be rotting in a prison, Cuban prison, because unlike Tom White, he had like 1 million people, calling the embassy, writing letters and protests until he finally got released. But
and we were able to take Bibles in. We didn't have to conceal them. Things may be a little bit looser now than they have been in the past, but we were able to take Bibles in there. We took 3 or 4 each of us, Spanish Bibles, and distributed them to folks there in Cuba. It was interesting too, Ricky, going through customs and sort of security checks in Cuba, much simpler and much easier than going through them here in the United States. That was the thing that was sort of surprising to us, is how we just kind of got whisked through Cuban security really without much hassle. I think the guy that was our guides, someone approached him when he was out in front waiting for us to exit the terminal and go to our hotel, and just kind of reminded him that we were not going to be allowed to speak to these house churches or to churches in Cuba. And we understood that. We were content to go there as guests and to listen, and we could certainly personally have conversations with people and chat with them and so forth, but there was a restriction on our ability to do any teaching in these house churches. Anyway, Ricky, anything else you want to add?
Yes, I had a comment on the snake handling. You got the right interpretation that Paul, when he picked up a snake accidentally, he didn't die. And it must have been a very venomous snake, probably a sea snake, since it was on an island. And sea snakes are some of the most venomous snakes in the world. And but the snake handler in Kentucky, he was tempting God, because there's only one place in the Bible to tempt God or try God, that's in paying of tithes, Malachi 3:16, that's it. But that snake handler, you correctly interpret when Paul accidentally picked up. But I got irrefutable proof that Mark 16 is in the original Bible text, because, of course, nobody has the original. It's only copies of the original. But the irrefutable proof that that was in the text is that Paul did not die, because God protected him. if you shall take up any serpent, you shall not die or get harm from it, because if that was not the original text, Paul would have died. But that's irrefutable proof that Mark 16 was in the original text, because Paul actually picked up, and the natives, it was so venomous they thought he was going to die any second.
Well, the difference though, Ricky, is that in Mark 16 there is sort of a promise that people can pick up snakes and they won't die. That's not what happened in Paul's case. In Paul's case, viper came out of the pile of wood and fastened itself to his hand. It wasn't something that he initiated. It wasn't something that he invited. It wasn't something he encouraged. He didn't go and buy a viper and then handle it in front of everybody to show that he was immune. It happened without his permission, cooperation, whatever, and God supernaturally protected him. And I'm guessing the other part in Mark 16 about drinking poison, that was a tradition that arose in a similar way. There was some point along the way where some Christian was forced to drink something, maybe as a result of Roman persecution, was forced to drink something that would kill a normal human being, and God miraculously intervened and spared their lives. Now, we don't have that story anywhere in the Bible, so this would have been something that happened, in church history at some point, and then it kind of made its way into this addendum to Mark's gospel. And that's one thing that's interesting to me, Ricky. I find a lot of people that do believe that Mark 16 is original, and that's why they handle the snakes. But I don't see them doing the same thing with poison in front of their church congregations. I mean, they might handle snakes, but I don't see them taking out a bottle of arsenic and taking a swig. And so it seems to me there's a little bit selective even about the parts in there that they will follow. So, all right, Ricky, listen, I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. And now I'm just going to start into this. We'll finish it up on the other side. Number to call if you want to get in on the conversation, 888-589-8840 is the number. Let me just do a couple of quick items here while we're closing off this segment. These e-cars, here is another Tesla. These Tesla cars, I don't know how much they cost. These are $100,000 cars. And there have been 5 of these Teslas, because of the concentrated battery packs, that have burst into flames 5 times in the last 5 months. One of these Tesla cars has burst into flames and burned to the ground. So they're investigating why this is happening. And, of course, a lot of it has to do with the fact that you've got these lithium-ion batteries that are all packed in there to provide the power source. They put as many of them in there as they can. If there's not enough space for the engine to breathe, for this battery compartment to breathe, all this heat builds up inside that battery compartment. They have the same problems in the Boeing 787s. And then one of these will burst into flames, and you get what's called a thermal runaway, where now one lithium-ion battery after another in this battery pack bursts into flames, goes up in flames, and you can't stop it. It's a thermal runaway. You can't stop it. That was a problem that Boeing was having with their battery packs in those 787s. So if you're looking for a $100,000 bag of briquettes, go out and grab yourself a Tesla, stick it in your grill at home. You'll be fine. Focal Point AFR Talk, back in 2.